The night Jon Snow fell. The air was cold at Castle Black, colder than usual. Jon Snow. He had done what he thought was right. Saved the wildlings, made peace with old enemies, all to fight the real war against the dead. But not everyone saw it. They came running up to him. His face was pale, his eyes wide. "Lord Commander," he said, voice shaking. "There's someone at the gate. They say they saw a deserter." His boots crunching in the snow. The torches flickered, casting long shadows on the icy walls. Through him like fire. He twisted around, eyes searching for the attacker, only to see bow and marsh. Jon stumbled, clutching at the wounds. The cold seeped into his bones, but the betrayal burned hotter. Faces he knew, men he had fought beside, eaten with, trusted, closed in around him. Then fell. The snow beneath him turned red, his vision blurred. The last thing he saw was the sky above, black and endless, before the world went dark. Why it happened. The people who had murdered their families. To them, Jon had betrayed his vows, and so they killed him. But death was not the end for Jon Snow. Fire flickered in the braziers, the air hummed with power. And then Jon gasped awake. He had been brought back. In the darkest night, there is still hope.